Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining our strategic staffing webinar today. My name is Sawyer Barkus. I am a product marketing specialist here with ChiroTouch. I'm so excited to be here today. I want to extend an extra warm welcome to Dr. Mark Mouw. Dr. Mouw brings over 23 years of chiropractic expertise as the co-founder of Mouw Family Chiropractic and Nerve and Disc Centers of the Midwest, alongside his wife, Dr. Lynn. In their practice, Dr. Mouw leads a team of 4 associates dedicated to exceptional patient care. Dr. Mouw's leadership in managing a high-performing team of associates and CAs, both virtual and in the office, ensures consistent, high-quality care for all of their patients. Dr. Mouw is a co-owner of Chiro Matchmakers, where him and his team have transformed chiropractic staffing by expertly matching practices with associates and both in-office CAs and virtual chiropractic assistants, VCAs. Chiro Matchmakers' innovative approach to hiring really emphasizes selecting associates and team members who align with the practice's values and really integrating virtual CAs to reduce costs, which then allows in-office CAs to focus on direct patient interaction. Just a little overview of today. Dr. Mouw and I will be discussing pretty much all of the ins and outs of strategic staffing here, including associate and DC hiring the right CA, and also understanding the VCA role and impact.
Sawyer, it is a pleasure being on with you today. You're an awesome host already. I can't wait to work with you today. It's going to be so fun. So thank you for taking the time out and actually handling it this way. Number one, my wife and I have been working with ChiroTouch for over 15 years. So we've seen just the iteration and the growth and what you guys are trying to accomplish and what you've already done for us. We appreciate that in the ChiroTouch world, and just the connections I've made inside of ChiroTouch as well has been great. So just to tell you a little bit about myself, you gave a perfect little bio in the front there, but my wife and I opened a practice 20 plus years ago. And as a mom and pop shop, and we continue to grow and have a really wonderful practice today. In that meantime, I got to meet some real good friends of mine where 3 of us teamed up and launched a business called Chiro Matchmakers. And no, it's not a dating service. It is actually a chiropractic dating service for chiropractors, CAs, and VCAs. And we get that all the time. Are you a dating service? Can I marry a chiropractor through you? And no, it doesn't actually happen that way. But the reason why Chiro Matchmakers came to fruition is really the scar tissue I think that all of us had in hiring. All 3 of my partners have had hiring issues, and there's scar tissue from that. And when you hire the wrong person, it affects you greatly, not only in just months, possibly years, and loss of revenue and patience and so forth. But when you hire the right way, it's so cool to see. I always like to say 1 + 1 = 11. So when you have awesome team members, all of a sudden it's kind of like Clydesdales. You get 1 Clydesdale, they can only pull 8,000 pounds. You get 4 Clydesdales, they can pull 70,000 pounds. Why? Because it's that teamwork and it's the right people in the right position. So I'm going to start out a little bit at a higher level than just the hiring level. And a good friend of mine, Stephen Franson, he's a good friend of mine, not only that, but also a partner in business. But he's come up with what's called the 4 seasons in a chiropractor's career. And it makes so much sense. And there's 4 of them. And the first one's called launch. Let's just call that the me, myself, and I phase, right? And in my case, my wife as well. It's usually you're starting out, you're the only person in the office. Maybe it's your wife and you're just trying to get this start. You got your foot in the door, you're opening a practice. If you start one from scratch, not the purchasing of one, but if you started it from scratch, right? The next phase in a chiropractor's career is the build phase. Literally, you've opened your door, patients are coming in, you figured out how to be a chiropractor, but in the build phase, you usually start to hire CAs. Let's be honest, I think we've all been there where we've hired 1 CA and she or he does everything in the office. And then gradually, a lot of you will actually add more CAs along the way. The 3rd season is called the scale season. It's where we're actually, in most cases, the owner is moving outside of maybe the adjustatorium. They're becoming more of a CEO role. And how they do that is they actually start to bring on associates at that point. We go from an owner operator in the build phase to actually truly owning a business. I tell doctors all the time, if you're in a practice of building and you're the only doctor there, you have the best job in the world. You don't actually create a business until you've added associates that can help you continue to grow the practice. And then last one is exit. Exits sounds exactly like it is. It's how do we get out? And I will tell you, over the last 20, 30, 40 years, chiropractors really do a poor job at exiting. Unfortunately, they leave so much money on the table. We have these beautiful businesses. We've affected so many people's lives. We have these amazing missions. We have taken care of people 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And I hear such sad stories of doctors either passing away when they still own their business, or they give their business away for nothing when there's so much value there when done right with the right team in place and not a personality-driven practice. So taking to the next step is you need to understand what you're trying to accomplish when you are hiring. So in this example is, what's the vision of the practice? Why are you hiring that next employee? The CA, the associate doctor? I'm going to go through a couple of those, but I think it'll help our listeners kind of understand, like, when should I? Because I get on a lot of calls. We call those intro calls. I've done 3 already this morning. And doctors are like, well, a lot of times, well, some people are, I know I need to hire somebody. I've lost somebody. But a lot of people are like, you know what? I'm at the point, I'm on this teeter-totter. I'm not sure if I should bring somebody in or not. How do I know? Well, I'm going to give you some kind of criteria to work with through that. Number 1, are you expanding your business? Are you adding more services, decompression, laser, maybe weight loss? And you need to add positions, including like a marketer or a new pacey concierge or a tech CA to actually run your decompression. That's a good reason to hire a new doctor or CA in your practice. Are you going to see more people? You know what? By myself, I topped out at 250 people a week, but now I want to get to 350, 450, whatever it looks like. So you're wanting to increase your value. And inside of both of those, I think what you're doing is you're trying to not only create more revenue inside the practice, but you're trying to affect more people's lives, right? The third one is to really think about, at the point that we all opened our practice, I think we were in our offices 6 days a week, right? We were doing screenings on the weekends. We were busting our tails. We were just working this grind, right? There's a certain point that a lot of owners want to start to buy their time freedom back. So they want to decrease shifts. And I always call it the 3 Fs. Are you trying to do it for family, fun, and flexibility? In most cases, the reason why we want to bring a team member into our practice, especially as an associate, as the owner. But maybe there's new business opportunities that are there. Maybe you're looking at starting another practice. The reason why I'm in my practice now, not adjusting, but I'm in my practice 2 days a week doing report of findings, and I have 4 associates. The reason why I'm doing that is because I have other businesses that have been created inside of chiropractic, but not inside the walls of my practice. Just this morning, I was on a call with the doctor, lift up his arm. Why are we on a call today? He had a cast on, busted his wrist. He goes, I wish I had a great story, but I tripped over a clothing basket, a laundry basket in the dark, broke his wrist. So they want to reduce exposure, right? So this doctor, luckily enough, was married to a chiropractor. His wife was part-time. They have 3 young kids under 7. And now she's bent over the table adjusting 250 people a week in the practice because he can't adjust because he's got a broken wrist. Where if they had an associate, that's what we're going to call for. The associate could take over. The wife could still do her job and she could still be at home with the kids. But now she's underneath that table or adjusting in that area. And she's got to be in the office more. And I'd say the last one is that exit strategy. What is the exit strategy? A lot of times what we're doing now, if you do this correctly, you can sell it to an associate that's on board or have a really good associate that's there. That because the practice isn't a personality-driven practice, there's value to that practice. So, what's your vision? What are you trying to accomplish when you hire that next person in your practice? No matter if it's a CA, a DC, an associate, or a virtual CA, which most of you don't even know what that is yet until our conversation later. So I'll dig into that in a couple minutes. So I really want to start out, as Sawyer said, I want to start out with the associate conversation. So how do you know when you're ready to hire an associate? And I'm going to go through 3 criteria. So if you have a piece of paper and a pen, I know you'll get this next week and listen to it. But for those that are listening live right now, there's really 5 criteria if you're ready for an associate. Number 1, is your practice systematized? Are there procedures? Are there systems in place? Are the things and processes in place that are consistent? That every person in the office knows what's going on. Your patients it's not the Wild West. They know what's going on in the office. So number 1, is your practice systematized? Number 2, is your team established? The last thing you want to do in an associate hiring is have a really young staff, new CAs that you're training right now, and then you bring in an associate and they've got to be trained as well. So do you have an established, mature, stable team on board? Number 3, do you have a training culture? So Dr. Amber has been with me now 15 years. So Dr. Amber's been with me 15 years, Dr. Andrew's been with me 9 years, Dr. Jordan 7 years, and Dr. Mike's been with us for about 1.5 years. And we train every single Monday. I get on calls so often with doctors, hey, I want to bring in an associate, put them in place, and then 2 weeks later, I'm going to take a vacation. And I'm like, no, don't do that. You know why? Because training has to be a culture. There has to be an onboarding of the first 60 to 90 days to get them thrown into what they're doing in your practice. But for 15 years, Dr. Amber's participated in our team training every Monday for an hour. Why? Because great teams train. You have to be training consistency. Number 4, can you afford to pay an associate? So that's a big question. We get on calls often with doctors who are collecting $250,000 a year and they want to bring in an associate. And the problem with that is the person who's collecting $250,000 a year probably has $175,000 in expenses, and they're maybe taking home and living off of $75,000. Well, how do you pay an associate $75,000, $100,000, $125,000 if there's no extra money in the pot, I would say. So then all of a sudden that owner starts to struggle if they do that. And I see it done incorrectly so often. So there has to be a focus. Is there the income that comes in to pay an associate? And then number 5, can you support the new associate with enough new patients? Can you increase your marketing either digitally, social media wise? Are you going to do outside marketing? Are you going to do talks and screenings? Can you increase the number of referrals into your practice so you can support this doctor inside the practice with this new patient volume? So Sawyer, I know I covered a ton there. I know we have a lot to go through. I'm sure there's some questions out of that as well. What do you think so far?
Yeah, of course. And I just wanted to say, 1, shout out to your team and their loyalty. I feel like even just hearing all the folks who've been with you for so long is such a testament to a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about today, is hiring all of the right people. I feel like it's just really uncommon to hear about people in the same spot like that for 9, 7, 5 years is just really beautiful. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think kind of going off of that, how does profiling both, your practice and the goals of ownership, how do kind of profiling both of those things help to create, these really strong matches for, long-term associates?
Yeah, one of the things that we do is when we take on a job, a placement in an associate, it's not like, oh, awesome, Sawyer, you need an associate. All right, we're going to go find you one. We actually take very particular steps to make sure that process is done correctly. And the first step in that is our team, your personal recruiter, actually gets on and does what's called a discovery session. And what we do is we actually build out a practice profile. So there's about 50 questions that need to be answered. How do you attract new patients? What's your conversion process look like? What's your retention? How do you keep people on board? What's your team building like? So we ask these 45 to 50 questions. 2 reasons. Number 1, in most cases, it helps the owner understand the position even better that they have. But number 2, we're going to be your biggest proponent. We're going to be talking to the candidates coming in for your job. We need to understand your position that you're looking for and your practice, just like we work there. So this discovery session on the front end of it helps us understand the particulars in the job so we can start to recruit people who would want to stay with you long-term because they're in their perfect job. They want to adjust diversified. They want to see 150 people a week. They want to work Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday mornings and Tuesday, Thursdays all day. They don't want to work on the weekends. Well, if you have a weekend position, you have to work on Saturdays, and this person has 3 kids in football. More than likely, that's not going to be a match. So we're going to be very particular. What are the hours? How do you take care of patients? All those things. How are your care plans? Are you in an acute care office, a wellness care office? How does that work? The more we know and profile the position, the better we can match doctors to that owner.
Wow. And I think that is just such a great way to sort of encapsulate all that really goes into it. And there's so much more too that I think when you're in the position to start hiring and expanding, you have this like sort of dream or vision for this perfect person you'd love to bring in. But so much of that can be lost in the details and the things that you forget to ask when you're trying to start that process. So I feel like just taking out some of the weight and the headache behind what do I need to ask? How do I ask it? How do we have this conversation is hugely beneficial. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I'm like, dang, That would make my life so easy.
That's what we do.
So,
Make this easier. Done for you is what we call it.
right, exactly. So can you explain sort of how your assessment works and what makes it different from, say, a Myers-Briggs personality test or something like that? Because I know, we've used those here on my end as, what kind of work person are you? So what kind of makes this like unique and special?
Yeah, such a great question. So inside of that discovery session, we have each doctor take what we call a pro scan. And a pro scan's a licensed behavioral assessment that we have a proprietary license on that we purchased when we opened the business. And the reason why is because it's really a part of the matchmaking. So what we know are there are really two types of chiropractors. There are business builders and there are caregivers. About 30% of our population are business builders. They'll come out, they'll want to open their own practice, they'll work for a couple of years, they'll leave that practice and move in and open their own business, right? So a lot of times we get on calls with doctors and they're like, well, I've lost 3 associates in the last 10 years. They usually work for me for a couple of years and they leave. And I'm like, well, what happened? Well, they all opened their own practice afterwards. And I'm like, congratulations. They're like, no, I wanted them with me forever. And I said, let me ask you this. Did you hire somebody that was like you? And they're like, well, yeah. I wanted to hire somebody like me and my energy and how I do this and that. And I'm like, well, how long would you work for you? And then the light bulb comes on. And they're like, well, I came out and I worked for somebody for a year and I opened my own practice. And I'm like, well, if you're hiring the mini me, what do you think mini me is going to do 2-3 years down the road or a year down the road? They're going to leave you and open up their own practice. Where on the other side of that, there's these wonderful, beautiful caregivers, which makes up 60-70% of our population of chiropractors now. They really are somewhat allergic to running a business, right? They went to chiropractic school to be a doctor. They really don't want to run a business. What they want to do is they want to take care of patients. And I have really 3 great caregivers in my office. They love taking care of patients. Someone who's been working for you for 15 years is not a business builder. They're a caregiver. You know what? I put her in a position to be successful for the last 15 years because she gets to just love on patients and take care of patients. And there's no way that she would be successful if she went out in the real world and did her own thing. She could probably grind it out, but she makes way more money working for me, not having the headaches of running the business. So that's what we call a business builder and a caregiver. And this proprietary PDP assessment tells us how that person's built. And it's EEOC compliant. So the difference between a behavioral assessment, pro scan, and Myers-Briggs, Strengths Finders, Enneagram are personality tests. So personality tests can legally be given after hire, but not pre-hire. And like pro scans, a behavioral assessment, it's EEOC compliant, which means it's government regulated and okayed. It's a past assessment. And we can use that while we're going through the interview process to make sure we know if this is a good match to the position we built out in question 1, right? All right, onboarding. What do I need? Well, I want a doctor here for the next 7 to 10 years. I have plenty of new patients. I just need them to see, okay, let's find you a type of caregiver. This is the type of doctor who's going to come in, be with you for a long period of time. If you take care of them, have the new patients come in, pay them well. And what this does then is it really helps us match. And I always say it's bringing oil and oil and water because we know what motivates them, what demotivates them, what stresses them from this assessment. It takes 10 minutes to take. It's 50 questions and gives us 23 pages of information, not only about the owner in the discovery session, but also every candidate that comes through to see if we can match them.
Wow, that's amazing. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, when it comes to time saved, do you, I don't know, have anything about practices who use you guys or, partake in this like assessment? Like, how much time are we actually saving? Because in my mind, I'm doing the math and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like huge. So do you know how much time, clinics can expect to save? Anything like that?
Yeah. So we have a full team of recruiters. We have over 20 people on our team who are doing the full-time recruiting. I'm not looking for a chiropractor for you. I'm trying to find out if I can help you and have a practice that I can find a chiropractor for. What we do is we have a whole recruiting team. So what we know from our research inside of our recruiting team, it usually takes about 22 to 25 hours of their time to actually place the doctor. So I always push the doctors and go like, okay, what do you make per hour? And let's just say on general, they make $750 per hour over the adjusting table. If you take 22 times 750, comes out to be about $17,000 of their time spent. And our placements are $7,500. So they can do a $1,500 retainer and then pay $7,500 after we place the doctor, or they can go like, hey, I'm going to pay $7,500 and it's done for you. Imagine all the time, energy, focus. I mean, we have all the connections. Our database of associate chiropractors is now around 9,500, which we believe is one of the biggest databases, or is the biggest associate database. So that's where we find our candidates. Inside of our database, we have headhunters on our team. And those are the areas we get it. Indeed, posting at your schools, all those types of things now are old. Like this is what we used to do 5 to 7 years ago to really find where doctors live. Good associates aren't sitting on their couch looking to get hired. Good associates are in jobs looking for better opportunities in clinics that want to have an A-team player.
Totally agreed. And I think that's such great insight. I feel like what I've been hearing, just you take a log into like LinkedIn, and it's all just people trying to find jobs. There are people out there who are looking for these incredible opportunities that are very driven, super motivated, but it's like, well, how do I, as somebody hiring, go out and find those people? And I think it's really challenging. So
let me clue that up just to finish our DC conversation, is that when you're looking on Indeed, the people who respond to Indeed are usually the D and C players a lot of times. And the reason why is because they're out of work or in a really crappy position, right? Most of our hires are actually coming from doctors who are in the field doing positions and looking for a better opportunity. And that's the difference between the conversation with the gentleman this morning is like, he's like, well, can you find somebody who can see 150 people a week in my practice? And I'm like, yeah, but what are you willing to pay? And he said X, Y, Z. And I'm like, yeah, you're spot on. Because I would say right now what we're seeing in chiropractic is we're seeing between 80 and 110,000 is the average salary for a chiropractor at this point. And they should be. That's what they're worth. If they're producing 300, they should be making 100, because that's 200,000 in your pocket, 100 on them. That's exactly where those numbers need to be. And sometimes what happens is when doctors go to the marketplace at $60,000, $70,000, do you think an A-team player is worth that? Are they going to take $60,000, $70,000? No. Right. Can you get a D player? Yeah. Are you going to be happy in 6 months? No. You're going to be upset about that. And you're going to have turnover, which is one of the most costly things in your office. So you got to pay right, have a right position, and really profile out of what your expectations are of that doctor.
Awesome. Really well said. Thank you for that. Wondering, as we kind of move through this, sort of talking about, our CAs and hiring and all of that fun stuff, what kind of specific things are we looking for as far as like practice specific insights and things before we really start that search for a CA?
Once again, very similar to the associate, you still have to build out a job model. What are you trying to accomplish? I think you would agree with me, Sawyer, that a person running a front desk is a lot different than the person crunching the numbers for insurance or care plans in the back office, right? So once again, as we go looking for CAs, we do the same thing. Is we jump on a call to do a discovery session. And what we want to do is we need to build out a job model and a job role, job description to try to connect the right CA with the right role, right? So, hey, is your CA going to be at the front desk answering phones, saying hi to patients as they come in? I call it the wow patient greeting. Are they going to be this energy at the front desk and this front desk captain? Or are they going to be in the back office calling and verifying insurance and doing care plans and really not extroverting? So I would almost say is like this extroverted versus more reserved or introverted is the role, the model that we build out. So this behavioral assessment really helps getting the 4 rights, right? When you have a right person in the right role, doing the right job the right way, you have a happy, healthier person that's going to stay longer. Why? Because they're actually working inside of they're the best things they do, the things that they enjoy. We've all had it, right, Sawyer? There's stuff, I'm sure, on your list every day you have to do in the position that you don't like doing. But if you had to do things you didn't like doing primarily, you wouldn't be there anymore. So you're doing probably 80% of the things you love doing because that's how you're built. And that's the profile that we sit down initially with and actually build out with the owner. A lot of times the owner and the office manager, because that office manager usually knows more than the owner, if there is one, of what they need inside the office as that next team member.
Mm-hmm. So why do you think that, having the owner there for that conversation is as important as you're saying it is? Like, what truly is the value of having that owner or operator there in, when you're determining those needs?
You have to, what happens is, here's transparency. I get on a lot of calls, especially for CA hiring, and guess who I'm speaking to? The office manager. She's like, I'm calling for the owner and we need a CA to help build our practice. And what we're doing is we're replacing or we're adding, or, you know, we need to grow. So we need this position. And the problem is a lot of times is the office manager has the ear of the owner, but the owner hasn't had the conversation with me to help them understand all the steps we go through, right? An owner says this, I need a CA, go find one to the office manager, right? But they don't realize that the office manager is with us and our team and their recruiter, and they're going like, well, what do you need for this? And we do a discovery session. And, you know, inside of what we're doing, what we talk about is we need to have a cognitive assessment to make sure the CA is smart enough. So we're doing a cognitive assessment on the front end. Then we do the behavioral assessment. Are they built to be an extrovert and helping build the practice? Or are they more supportive, more reserved? Do they have enough energy and gas tank? This assessment can actually tell us all this. And then we actually help with the interview process beginning, because you're hiring us to take the load off of you. What kind of time do you do? So I'll say two things. Number one, you're saving yourself time and you're saving yourself money. And the reason why is we're sending you candidates that can fit the position. So you don't have to go through Indeed and 250, different Indeed candidates. So that's the reason why is we can save you time. We're saving you money because either you or your office manager are going to do it, right? So you have to do it. The office manager's up to her head here because she has 14, 15 other things that she's in charge of. And then she's trying to hire somebody in her spare time.
Right. And I think that kind of goes back, because then it's like, as you're asking this person, this office manager, to take on this new role and responsibility, essentially of like recruiter, it's like, is her 80% satisfaction in her job going to go down because now she's taking on roles and responsibilities and things that don't align with who she is or who they are, their passions, what they're good at. Kind of like a full circle moment right there. So
that sounds familiar, right? I'm sure
like,
you hear
wide open.
Yeah. I'm sure you hear it, right? I mean, you guys at Chiropractic work with enough office managers, right? They're usually the one calling, asking questions. Hey, can we upgrade this? Or we need help with this and so forth. They're like, oh yeah, why is an office manager, I'm guessing, why is an office manager calling Chiropractic at times? I just lost my person who knows how to run Chiropractic, right? Like they're leaving, they know everything. Like you need to teach me now. So the office manager is always trying to put out fires. And do they truly love the hiring process? Why would you put it on an office manager's hands if they don't even love it?
Exactly. And I think when that's the case, what we see, or what I can imagine we see, is hiring the wrong person at the wrong time in the wrong position, which is like the total opposite of everything we've been saying, So I could see why that could be really detrimental and, bottom line, expensive and costly for your practice.
Yeah, in most cases, when do people hire? In emergencies. So-and-so gave me 2 weeks notice. So-and-so didn't show up for work today. So all of a sudden we're hiring very quickly. And a quick hire, you have to go through the steps. If those of you that are listening, just make a mental note, write it down. You have to go through the specific steps in the hiring process. Are you doing cognitive assessments? Are you doing behavioral assessments? Are you conducting interviews the right way? Are you asking the right questions? Do you have a job description built out? What are you trying to accomplish? A lot of times is, why is hiring a CA even more important than almost hiring an associate? Well, in most of our offices, our CAs spend more time with the patients, right? They're collecting money. They're answering the phone. They're rescheduling patients. They're scheduling new patients. They're building relationships. They're all this extra time. Because in transparency, in most doctors' offices, if it's like mine, the person's with the doctor for 5 minutes to get an adjustment. Then they're on to active therapy or decompression, and the doctor doesn't even see them after that. So the time that the CA spends with them is number one, up at most importance. Number two, I'll add on to that. If you have an unhappy CA and you hire the wrong person and it ends very quickly and it's not the right one and they feel like they've been shafted, what do they usually do? They write a review. Reviews in our world today are the most important thing we can have. So if you have a CA that you hired wrong and they're upset, and I know some of you listening right now have had this, the next thing you know, there's 14 paragraphs on a review of how you suck and how you take advantage of people and how you took advantage of you and blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden, that can have massive effects. So when you start to think about hiring the right CA, put a process and system behind it, because if you don't, it can end up burning you more ways than one.
Yeah, well said. And also scary to think about, I think there's just a lot of care and, thought and care that goes into making that decision.
100%.
So super quick. So what kind of screening or like interviewing do you do before a CA even reaches practice owner?
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a cognitive assessment. It's a proprietary assessment to make sure they're smart enough. It's a bell curve to make sure that they're smart enough. Almost half the applicants that come through Chiro Matchmakers aren't even smart enough to actually do a chiropractic assistant job, right? So number one, cognitive assessment. Number two, behavioral assessment. It's that pro scan again. Are they extrovert? Are they more introverted? Hey, I need a front desk. Well, the person sounds really good in an interview, but if they're an introvert, they're going to be burnt out in 3 months answering the phones in your practice, right? Same thing goes for, oh, they're awesome. They have so much energy and they're great. I'm going to put them in my back office. They're going to do my numbers. No, they're going to leave you in 90 days because they're doing your numbers and they're inside of an office and they're burnt out because of where they're at, right? So, getting those right people. And then we take care of the internal inside part of what's going on in your practice when we're doing the interview process for you. So we're interviewing, making sure you have the right ones. We really literally hold your hand from start to finish. And I'll say it again, this is a done for you, not a done by you. This is where we come along and we take care of it for you. And I know there's probably questions out there about pricing. We charge $37.50. We're very upfront. $37.50 all in, and we take care of everything for you. And then there's a guarantee on the backside of that.
Awesome. And, I love how I feel like we keep going back to this and kind of speaking from my experience. So one of my favorite jobs I can ever remember is being a hostess at a restaurant. And I love welcoming people in. You set the tone for the experience. Maybe you recognize that this is maybe this is their first date night in 6 months, whatever it is. And you, as that host, have the opportunity to set the tone for the whole night. And I had coworkers, who work with me who are maybe not as outgoing or cared about, even had that cross their mind. And so, like I said, that was one of my favorite jobs. I loved being that first contact. And if I was in the back crunching numbers for someone, I don't even know if I get through my first 2 weeks. So I just want to say like that totally resonates. And I can see even in my life, like I was in the right place, working the right job with the right people, right time, everything was right. But I've been in the wrong. So there's a big difference there.
I can see just today as you're hosting, I mean, you love it. You're engaged and you're thinking about questions to ask. And if we were to, sit you on the sidelines and put you in a cubicle, once again, Sawyer, you wouldn't stay there very long, right? And that would burn you out. So like I said, hiring a CA is more important than a doctor. The reason why is the CA is going to be with your patients even more than the doctors are in your practice. So
you're saying basically just as important.
Just as important, if not more important. Absolutely. Right? It's great to have a great doctor that's going to spend the time with the patient for 5 minutes and adjust them and so forth. But when you got CAs in your practice, some of my CAs are with a patient for 30 minutes because they're going through stretches and decompression and maybe a laser, because we have multiple avenues in our practice. So they're taking care of patients longer than I am. And they know my patients a lot of times more than my doctors do, just because of the consistent conversation. Because when doctors are working with the patient, it's getting them adjusted. What's going on today? Oh, this is the reason why I'm adjusting that. Oh, you know what? Next time you're in, I'm going to take a little bit more look at that sacrum. Where the CA is on the floor going like, oh, what's your wife's name? Oh, you're in this type of management? That's great. Oh, you have 3 kids. Oh, one's playing football tonight. Awesome. How are they doing? So you see this constant team building conversation around CAs. But what I think the conversation needs to be next is let's shift in and have a conversation around VCAs, okay? So I'm going to start out a high-level conversation with VCAs and say this. So VCA, first off, VCA stands for a virtual chiropractic assistant, okay? It's not AI. So a lot of people call me up on calls and introduction. They're like, is this AI? Is this an AI bot? And I'm like, no. A VCA is a live person that's just not in your office. For 20 plus years, the companies all over the world, especially the United States, have been using virtual assistants. We're just so far behind in chiropractic, to be honest with you, usually launching new things, that we're behind the VCA 8 ball by probably 5 or 6 years to other medical type of facilities. It's not an AI bot. What I'll tell you is AI bots are around, they're getting better, but still people want to work with who? People. Okay. So people still want to work with people. They want to speak with real people. Often I've got on with AI bots just the other day. It's like, hey, just to let you know, I'm a virtual assistant. I can help you out. Tell me what you want. And they're like, oh, let's take this to texting. And I was like, you know what? Let me try it. So I go to texting and they're like, hey, I have a question about my account and it's at a condo that I own. And I have a question about my account and how's my HOA? And they're like, oh, I can't take care of personal account stuff. And I'm like, that's what I called for. I just spent 5 minutes with an AI bot that couldn't answer my question at all. Or guess what? A virtual CA can. So number one, a virtual CA is a live person that takes care of your patients virtually.
That's amazing. I'm like, I can already imagine the headache passing. Sounds like a dream. My question though, this sounds amazing, but is a VCA always a good fit? Or are there certain clinics that maybe a VCA is totally makes sense for you, but maybe not for this practice? And how do you kind of decide who is a good fit?
Really great question. So what I would tell you is that every clinic can be a good fit for a virtual CA. Okay. So we've worked with them all. So transparency, we've been doing this at Chiro Matchmakers for 2 years. How it got us down this rabbit trail is we actually brought in VCAs to work for Chiro Matchmakers to help us move the hiring process forward faster and a bit cheaper. Okay, so we're going to talk about time and money here in a few moments. But I have doctors that call me up. Example, doctor in New York City, solo doctor, no staff. He sees about 40 people per day, 4 days a week. And he called me up and he's like, virtual assistant, that sounds awesome. Like I'm answering the phone while I'm talking to a person about, some functional medicine or getting them adjusted. And I'm like, hold on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you have a practice in New York City and like you're stepping away to answer the phone with the person's on the table. And he's like, yeah, at times he's like, I'm just trying to build my practice. I'm like, how about we get a virtual CA to actually answer the phone for you? He's like, you can do that? They can do that? I'm like, absolutely. They can do that. That's what's awesome about it is these people can actually answer the phone for you, go into your scheduling system, go into your schedule them for 2:30 in the afternoon, and you can continue to work with your patient. He was blown away. He's like, yep, where do I sign up? He was like, let's go. We onboarded him, and 5 days later, he had a virtual CA answering his phones. Okay. So smaller practice. What I see a lot of times is doctors will call us up, and what there are is they're almost maxed out. They're seeing 250, 200 a week in their office. They have 2 CAs, and they're like, I really don't want to hire that next CA in my practice because it's kind of tight money-wise. Like I make good income, but it's too tight to hire another person at $25 an hour. So like, how can I hire that next person, but it's not a real person? Because I really don't want to hire somebody part-time because somebody part-time in my practice isn't like all in. So I'm like, well, virtual CA. And they're like, oh, what can they do? And then I start to land in, and we'll land into some of that in a few moments. And then I got the larger practices. Doctors that are, 500 visits, they're multidisciplined, they have 6 locations. What they're trying to do is they're just trying to optimize staff, right? There's so many moving parts. What's happening is in their practices, a lot of times the small practice to the larger practice, people are hiring virtual CAs so that the CAs in the practice can spend time with the patients. They're not on calls, talking to a person on the phone. They're not on a verifying insurance call. They're not head down when a person's in front of them. What they're doing is they're actively acting as a CA so that they can be with the patient. And virtually, where our virtual assistants, your virtual assistants, actually handling all the things that don't need to be done with a patient. Make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. And I think that kind of answers my next question, but I still want to get it out there. Like, how are these VCAs really helping us to like lower those overhead costs, but still adding true value to the practice and the work that's being done day in and day out?
Yeah. So I would say to get a really good, since we hire CAs as well, and I have 6 CAs in my office. I used to have 9. I've replaced them with VCAs, a couple of them. So I have 6 really awesome CAs that have been with me 11 years down to 6 years. So they've been with me a long period of time as well. We got rid of the ones that weren't performing and that were usually really a bit newer that just don't have the same work ethic. So, a good CA today is going to make 20 on the low end to $30 an hour, let's just say, depending on where you're at in the United States. So our virtual assistants, we're very upfront with them, with everybody. Our virtual assistants come out of the Philippines. They're awesome employees. They have 4-year educations. We're working with accountants and physical therapists and, specialists, business specialists, people who've had, those types of things. They speak really good English if they're going to be extroverted and go on your phones. They're numbers people. Sometimes they don't always, but they're doing your numbers and so forth. They're not patient facing, right? So the cost to our chiropractors is we charge $9.87 an hour. And you're getting an overseas contact. It's going to be your VCA. They're going to be on your team. I have VCAs now. We have, right around 40 or 50 VCAs working in practices this way now. And what you're doing is they're handling, and they're just a team member. So when there's a team huddle, when there's a team meeting, when there's team trading, they're virtually bringing this person in and they're a part of the team. Oh, Sally's working with us. Sally's a part of my team. They're not like, oh, this person that's overseas. They're literally a part of the team. Their patients know these people that are working with them, which is really cool. And you can't beat $9.87 an hour. So what I'd say is, how do you save money? Just to go through is just some ideas. And I'm going to have the ChiroTouch team send this out via email. This is our saving money, saving time for VCAs. And there's 10 on each side, just to cover a couple of the ones that are money. But I'll just give you what I'm using a lot of our VCAs for and other doctors is converting Facebook leads. So everybody knows when a Facebook lead comes in, if you're doing any Facebook marketing, if you don't get to them within 1 minute or less, your conversion goes down 50%. So VCAs, boom, everything's set up. The lead comes into them. They make the first call and they put people on our schedule. They're awesome at that. Reactivation campaigns. We got lots of doctors who've hired a VCA. They're going back in. They have 4,000, 5,000 files. And what they're doing is they're sending out emails, text messages, calls, and hey, reactivation campaign. We haven't seen you the last 6 months, year, 5 years, whatever it is. Promoting new services. So I had a doctor who hired us literally for the ability where they've added a laser to their practice. And as they've added a laser, sorry, I'm at my house. I got little dogs and they are barking because I think UPS is here, more than likely Amazon, because they come to my house once a day.
Yeah, so, and that's an emergency, clearly.
That's an emergency, yeah. Amazon's here. Let me go get them. Right? So I apologize for the noise in the background. So they brought on a laser. So what they were doing is they were having the VCA send out a text message to the patients that had been in the last 6 months to let them know they're adding laser to their office and how it helped with knees and shoulders. Collecting reviews, converting new patients. They're confirming them within 24 hours before their new patient appointment. And what I have one doctor doing right now, it's really cool. After 5 days of a new patient coming into the office, if they say no to a care plan, 5 days later, they have a VCA actually calling the patient up and asking if they've possibly changed their mind. They had a chance to talk to their husband or wife and they'd like to come into the office. And then we have a couple of our doctors who are actually using them in the PI cases. So they're helping doing transcription for PI cases because there's more in-depth notes. They're calling the lawyers on a weekly basis to make sure they're getting paid on a correct basis. So that's really where you start to save money because you're decreasing your overhead costs in your practice and having somebody virtually do it. None of those things I talked to you about are patient facing. They're not in your four walls. They're actually going out taking care of patients that way.
I think that's awesome. And I just saw sort of like the tie-in from the start here is like, say, for example, you do have these virtual folks who are working with your team now and you want them to like be truly integrated with your practice. You don't want it to be this kind of extension or like somebody you don't know. Like you want that to be a team member and like a member of the family. And so I think kind of going back to what you said, having those like meetings where you have all hands on deck, bringing in every single staff member, whether you're remote, completely virtual, whether you're here or not, like making sure that we're all grounded in who we are, what we do, why we do it. I think can really transform those relationships and build that trust, even when you don't have that face time necessarily.
Sawyer, you nailed it. A lot of doctors are like, they don't understand how to bring them in. But once again, I mean, half the world ran businesses virtually 2020 to 2022, 23. Like, why can't we do it in our practices when companies that make billions of dollars have people all over? I know ChiroTouch, you guys probably aren't all in one area. I know with your support team now, we got North Carolina and we've got Tennessee and you've got California, and we're all on this call making it happen and we work everywhere. There's not a doctor on here right now going like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're not all in San Diego or in, McKinney, Texas.
Right.
Why? Because you probably couldn't find the talent on your team in all those locations. So the same thing is you probably can't find the talent and pay for what you're going to when you can do something overseas and they just become a part of your team, right?
100%. So I think that's kind of a good segue because my wheels are turning. I feel like this is kind of getting into like most common questions. Like, what do we hear from docs about hiring, virtually, and how are you typically responding to those, questions, concerns, those sort of things?
Well, I would say 95% of them are out of the Philippines. We have a few out of Honduras if they need bilingual, so we can make that happen as well. And what I tell people is they speak awesome English. How people save time is I have doctors now that have all of their calls taken from our overseas agents. So they're literally answering the phones for them during uptime, downtimes, when they're closed, sometimes on the weekend. They're making missed call, their patients miss appointments. They're making those missed calls. There's great and easy ways to communicate. Most people will communicate either through like a Slack or like ChiroTouch has instant messenger. So guess what? All my team members have their own instant messaging inside of ChiroTouch. Guess what my VCAs have? The same instant messenger. So how do we communicate? Through instant messenger, and then there's something also called Zoom. So there's ways to get on Zoom, and they come into our team meetings and team huddles and so forth. And that's what most people are doing today. And then a lot of times people ask, like, how long do they stay? Well, we've been doing this for 2 years. My virtual assistant's been with me for over 18 months. I've had multiple now over a year. I haven't had one leave me yet, which has been awesome. Most of our clients, they just become a member of their family of their team, right? So just like your CAs, if you treat them right, $9.87 an hour doesn't sound like much to us, but the average person over in the Philippines makes about $4 an hour. So $9.87, we're paying them better. We take a small cut, but they're getting paid by us between $5 and $6.50 an hour based on the position that they have. And the awesome thing is, what I always tell doctors is you can do this on your own. You can go online, you can find VCAs for $3 or $4 an hour. But number one, again, like an associate, what are you getting for hardly anything, right? Number two, one of the hardest things that we had to come up with is figure out how to pay them. So I always tell our doctors that there's no contracts. We'll onboard them. We'll help get everything taken care of for you, help bring them into your practice. We'll go out and hire and find them. So just transparency, we charge $500. We go out and look at 200, 300 resumes that come in. We select the top 10. We do interviews with the top 5. You'll hear those interviews because we'll send them to you virtually, video-wise, and then we help you interview 2 of them, and then you hire that next person. And it goes so smoothly. What our team has been awesome at in the last 2 years is really learning how to find great talent. Number one, because we know where to go, the cities that are right area, the ones that have worked with Americans before. And a lot of times what we see is a lot of these people in the Philippines, they are working nights because they're working for most American companies, but they're working for big companies and they want to go to the smaller companies because we pay better. And what we've done is we've also learned in the Philippines, they get paid a 13th month. So to get them to retain, what happens is we hold a small part out, and on the 13th month they're with us, we pay them this amount that we've had, and they love that. And number one, they like that extra money on the end, but number two, it helps with the retention of getting good people in practices.
Awesome. And I guess kind of one of my final questions here, and then I think we're going to open it up just a little bit, is can clinics choose between, part-time and full-time VCAs, and how flexible, is the service?
Yeah, that's a great question. So number one, these are people who need jobs because they're making a living and paying a family as well. So our minimum is 20 hours. And just like in the United States, they usually work 40 hours a week. So if a person's working with you for 20 hours, they're probably finding another job for 10 or 20 hours as well. Sometimes in chiropractic with us, and sometimes it's outside of chiropractic. But a lot of our doctors start at 20 hours. And they'll do 20 hours. And I will tell you, the number of doctors who start out at 20 hours, and 2 months later, they're getting back on a call with Adriana, who's the director of our virtual assistants, and they're going like, man, they're crushing it. I can see them doing this and this and this. Can I add hours? And they're bumping up to 30 or 40 hours, or they're adding a second, CA. Oh, they're doing verification of insurance and following with PI companies, and they're doing reviews, and they're helping with my social media, and they're helping me with my weekly metrics. Geez, I got them 40 hours. I need to hire another 20 hour, because what they're seeing is they're just seeing, I will be honest, they're seeing the quality and the want to work like we did 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's the big difference. And what I also tell doctors is that they love to work with small businesses, like I said earlier. And for our clients, it's month to month with us. If you're like, this isn't for me, awesome, discontinue. I will tell you, people don't discontinue. And the reason why is they see the value, not only in the time and the money that they're saving on both ends, but let me be honest, who really loves them are the other CAs in your practice. The reason why is because they get the things taken off their lap that a lot of times they don't like to do. They're too busy. It's the 17th thing on their list that doesn't get done. It's getting skipped, and it can be done very reasonable in the amount that it costs.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. We did have kind of an interesting question I wanted to surface. So
yeah.
What is your opinion on employees that, are already hired that are underperforming in their position? And, do you have any advice for like rehabbing these employees, helping encourage them to perform at a high level? How are we navigating that?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what they were hired for. I think a lot of times what happens, so number one, they need to be the right person for the right job. So I would go back and look at what the job description was. And a lot of times, let's be transparent, in small offices where there's 2 or 3 staff and they're seeing 200-300 people a week or whatever it is, that CA usually had this job description, but she's doing 3 or 4, he's doing 3 or 4 other things. So all of a sudden they're getting pulled away. And what they're doing is they're usually doing things that they're not built to do. Right? So the behavioral assessment would say, they're extroverted, they're this, this, and this. But the doctor is going like, they're really good at this. Because they're so good, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add these 3 things on it. And like you said, you've been in positions you didn't like before. And the reason why is because you started one position. Has this happened? Let me ask you truthfully. You were told one job you were going to have. But as you were in the job, you were so good at what you're doing, or maybe you weren't as good at what you're doing because it burnt you out, that they added more things to your list and they changed the position definition. Has that ever happened to you?
I recognize this is being recorded. No comment. Yeah, that has happened. And I want to say pretty much every job I've held. And I think that's also a natural part of being somebody who wants to take on more and learn more, is like you do get fed those opportunities and people want to see you grow. But it's kind of like that challenge between, I want to take on more. I want to be this all-star employee, but also this was not in my job description. And so there's kind of this friction between wanting to be a high performer, be somebody who's really good at your job, super reliable, and feeling like you're taking advantage of me. This isn't part of my job description. So there's always that kind of tug of war there.
So what I would say to the person who asked this, I would sit down with the employee, pull out the job description, number one, and what are you doing? And every quarter we update our job descriptions in our practice. What are you doing and what have we added to your plate? And what's draining you? What on this list is draining you from being able to do the best job you can do, number one. Number two, there's something called KPIs. They're called key performance indicators. More than likely, Sawyer, you have KPIs at ChiroTouch. Big organizations run off of KPIs, key performance indicators. Our team does as well. A lot of doctors out there are like, what are you talking about? Key performance indicator is what your job is this quarter to move things forward. And you usually have 3 to 5 of those in your position. Those are things that you know that if you're getting those done, look successful. If you're not getting those done, it's not successful. So number one, you could have a great employee that you've put too much on and too many KPIs. Or number two, you could have an employee that's not very good, but you have no way to judge if they are because you don't have anything that shows them what success looks like. That's what KPIs are. You're doing this one, you're doing this one, you're not doing well at this one. And you haven't even started this quarter. And by the way, it's the middle of July. You're probably not a good fit for my practice because you're not even doing the KPIs that you're supposed to do. Maybe it's just a misunderstanding in the hiring, or you're just not a good employee. So there has to be things to show a person what success looks like. And you have to be able to measure that success to determine if they're a good employee or not.
Right. I think that's super well said. I think sometimes when the sort of expectations aren't clearly defined or you don't have those goals around those positions, I think it leads... There's a lot of room for disappointment and miscommunication because I don't know that you're desiring that I perform X, Y, or Z. And I'm, operating under a certain assumption. And there's just kind of this misfire because that open line of communication isn't there. And so it's like, how do we create those opportunities to have those really meaningful and impactful conversations of where are we? How did we get here? What are you doing that you love? What are you doing that you don't love? And how can we make this work together?
I'm going to add one more thing. If you're not doing it, doctors, you need to be doing quarterly reviews, updating KPIs, and you need to be doing monthly, every 30 days or every 45 days, a check-in. So check-ins are usually done by your office manager or COO in your office, or you can do it as well. And then quarterly reviews, you should be in on those. Maybe you don't have to handle, I don't handle them anymore, but I oversee them and I know what I need my CAs to go forward with. But my office manager and my COO handle those conversations. We're just in on those conversations. So that's the other thing. You need to be meeting up with your team. If you don't meet with them for a year and you're like, oh yeah, how'd it go? And you're like, well, I hated my job. Like, no wonder I underperformed.
Right.
How to meet with them on a consistent basis.
Awesome. Dr. Mouw, I just wanted to seriously thank you for all of your wisdom and expertise here. I feel like it has been eye-opening and kind of like overwhelming in the most positive way possible. It's kind of like that saying, you don't know what you don't know until you know it. So there was definitely a lot of that today.
Awesome.
So just want to kind of like talk through what we got up here on the screen. So of course, thank you everybody for attending today. We so appreciate, your time. If you're ready to connect with Dr. Mouw and talk about this, really smart strategic staffing, go ahead and give our QR code here a quick scan. Totally complimentary introduction call. Pick his brain. Assuming that call goes awesome, you're feeling energized, you're ready to take those next steps. Of course, you can always enjoy complimentary. For those who are on this webinar, we are offering an exclusive 50% off discount. That pertains to the onboarding process when you hire your first BCA. So just wanted to reiterate that here. And again, thank you all for the time. Dr. Mouw, I don't know if you had any final words, but please.
Yeah, you know what? Number one, thank you, Sawyer. You crushed it. Thank you so much for being a great host. And thank you to ChiroTouch for everything that you do for our profession for so many years. Number two, you know what? Hiring can be hard, but it doesn't have to be. Chiropractors think they need to do everything themselves. You know what? We think we need to run the office, run our marketing. We think we need to adjust the patients. We think we need to lead the team. We think we need to clean the toilet. We think we need to wash the floors, and we think we need to hire on our own. Let's be honest. We're really, really good at 2 or 3 things. And chiropractors, you should be taking care of patients. The last thing you need to do is, number one, be hiring on your own. And number 2 is hiring on your own and doing it wrong. I think all of you listening probably have some scar tissue from doing that. We want to help you not have to do that, because we believe the impact in chiropractic is so far reaching that the more people that are on your team that do a great job and you're doing it the right way, the more impact you can make, the more lives you can save. And let's be honest, there's more that you can put into your bank account as well. And I think that's a win-win-win across the board. On the 50% off, if you did move forward with a VCA, it's a $500 onboarding fee. What that does is that allows us to go hire for you, go find candidates, interview those candidates on your behalf, send you 5 videos of the great ones, get you on a call with 2, and then we would complete the hiring with the guaranteed on the backside. The 50% discount, we just cut that in half. So that 500 goes to 250 onboarding. Just saves you to help onboard. So if that's something you'd like to discuss, complimentary, once again, scan it. I'd love to talk about all 3. But once again, ChiroTouch, always appreciate who you are and what you do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Just wanted to thank everybody one more time. Thank you so much all for coming here, being present and being on with us. And Dr. Mouw, thank you for all of your wisdom, expertise, and all the stories you shared as well. Really
thank you so much. Thank you. Have a great week.